Hi, everybody. This is Pastor Teresa. I want to welcome you to another week of our Celebrate Wonder Virtual Sunday School. Today, we are going to talk about love, God's love for us, but also that Jesus asks us to love all of our neighbors, even if our neighbors are our enemies. So before we dive into that and figure out what that really means, let's sing a song together.
Forgive us and help us forgive whatever's bad. Help us steer clear. You're in charge of everything. Oh, you can do anything, and we're in awe. We praise your name. Amen. Amen.
Just want to be with us, to know and guide us, that's enough. Oh, such amazing love, how can it be? You're powerful and good, the Bible tells us so. So we follow as you go.
Showing love. Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 through 48. Jesus was teaching a large crowd on the mountainside. He said, "You might have heard that we should be nice to people who are nice to us, and mean to people who are mean to us. But that's not what I want you to do. I want you to be loving and kind to all people, even people who are mean to you. God loves everyone, so we also must show love to everyone.
Hello, friends. I'm Carly. Let me tell you a story. I remember the first time I heard today's scripture. I was at church, just like you. I had a long week at school because a girl in my class was making fun of my friend. As I was listening, I heard my leader say that Jesus tells us to love your enemies. What? That felt so strange. It was the opposite of what I expected to hear. I thought Jesus would say, love your friends, or love the people who love you. That made sense to me. But Jesus says the opposite. He tells the disciples that loving people you like is easy. To follow Jesus, we also have to learn to love those who we don't get along with. That seems a lot harder. Is there someone you can think of who might be harder to love than others? For me, it was that girl in my class who was mean to my friend. How can I love her when I didn't see her showing love? After hearing our scripture story, I took a moment to pray and talk to my parents about it. I trust them, and I wanted someone to know what was happening. They helped me see that it was important not to treat her like she was treating my friend. Even though she was being mean, it would be wrong to be mean back to her. I can choose to act differently and to not be mean. I try to be kind to her, even though it's hard. I try to follow Jesus' teachings and remember that everyone is included in God's love. Friends, it's super easy to love those you like, but it's harder to show love to those who have hurt your feelings or are hard to be around. Whether they're mean, annoying, or even people who are just hard to get along with, it's important that we learn to love everyone. When it's hard to do this, talk to God and ask God what love looks like in that moment. We are all learning how to love better each day, and we can keep getting better at it together. Now, it's your turn to wonder.
And now, Enemy Pie, written by Derek Munson and illustrated by Tara Callahan King. It should have been a perfect summer. My dad helped me build a tree house in our backyard. My sister was at camp for 3 whole weeks, and I was on the best baseball team in town. It should have been a perfect summer, but it wasn't. It was all good until Jeremy Ross moved into the neighborhood, right next door to my best friend Stanley. I did not like Jeremy Ross. He laughed at me when I struck out in a baseball game. He had a party on his trampoline and I wasn't even invited. But my best friend Stanley was. Jeremy Ross was the one and only person on my enemy list. I never even had an enemy list until he moved into the neighborhood. But as soon as he came along, I needed one. I hung it up in my treehouse, where Jeremy Ross was not allowed to go. Dad understood stuff like enemies. He told me that when he was my age, he had enemies too. But he knew of a way to get rid of them. I asked him to tell me how. "Tell you how? I'll show you how," he said. He pulled a really old recipe book off the kitchen shelf. Inside, there was a worn-out scrap of paper with faded writing. Dad held it up and squinted at it. "Enemy pie," he said, satisfied. You may be wondering what exactly is in enemy pie. I was wondering too. But Dad said the recipe was so secret, he couldn't even tell me. I decided it must be magic. I begged him to tell me something, anything. "I will tell you this," he said. "Enemy pie is the fastest known way to get rid of enemies." Now, of course, this got my mind working. What kind of things, disgusting things, would I put into a pie for an enemy? I brought Dad some weeds from the garden, but he just shook his head. I brought him earthworms and rocks, but he didn't think he needed those. I gave him the gum I'd been chewing on all morning. He gave it right back to me. I went out to play alone. I shot baskets until the ball got stuck on the roof. I threw a boomerang that never came back to me. And all the while, I listened to the sounds of my dad chopping and stirring and blending the ingredients of enemy pie. This could be a great summer after all. I tried to imagine how horrible it must smell, or worse yet, what it would look like. But when I was in the backyard looking for ladybugs, I smelled something really, really, really good. As far as I could tell, it was coming from our kitchen. I was a bit confused. I went in to ask Dad what was wrong. Enemy pie shouldn't smell this good. But Dad was smart. "If enemy pie smelled bad, your enemy would never eat it," he said. I could tell he'd made enemy pie before. The buzzer rang, and Dad put on the oven mitts and pulled the pie out of the oven. It looked like plain old pie. It looked good enough to eat. I was catching on. But still, I wasn't really sure how this enemy pie worked. What exactly did it do to enemies? Maybe it made their hair fall out, or their breath stinky. Maybe it made bullies cry. I asked Dad, but he was no help. He wouldn't tell me a thing. But while the pie cooled, he filled me in on my job. He talked quietly. "There's one part of enemy pie that I can't do. In order for it to work, you need to spend a day with your enemy. Even worse, you have to be nice to him. It's not easy, but that's the only way that enemy pie can work. Are you sure you want to go through with this?" Of course I was. It sounded horrible. It was scary. But it was worth a try. All I had to do was spend one day with Jeremy Ross. Then he'd be out of my hair for the rest of my life. I rode my bike to his house and knocked on the door. When Jeremy opened the door, he seemed surprised. He stood on the other side of the screen door and looked at me, waiting for me to say something. I was nervous. "Can you play?" I asked. He looked confused. "I'll go ask my mom," he said. He came back with his shoes in his hand. His mom walked around the corner to say hello. "You boys stay out of trouble," she said, smiling. We rode bikes for a while and played on the trampoline. Then we made some water balloons and threw them at the neighbor girls, but we missed. Jeremy's mom made us lunch. After lunch, we went over to my house. It was strange, but I was kind of having fun with my enemy. He almost seemed nice. But of course I couldn't tell Dad that, since he had worked so hard to make this enemy pie. Jeremy Ross liked my basketball hoop. He said he wished he had a basketball hoop, but they didn't have room for one. I let him win a game, just to be nice. Jeremy Ross knew how to throw a boomerang. He threw it and it came right back to him. I threw it and it went over my house and into the backyard. When we climbed over the fence to find it, the first thing Jeremy noticed was my treehouse. My treehouse was my treehouse. I was the boss. If my sister wanted in, I didn't have to let her. If my dad wanted in, I didn't have to let him. And if Jeremy wanted in... "Can we go in it?" he asked. I knew he was going to ask me that. But he was the top person, the only person on my enemy list, and enemies aren't allowed in my treehouse. But he did teach me to throw a boomerang, and he did have me over for lunch, and he did let me play on his trampoline. He wasn't being a very good enemy. "Okay," I said, "but hold on." I climbed up ahead of him and tore the enemy list off the wall. I had a checkerboard and some cards in the treehouse, and we played games until my dad called us down for dinner. We pretended we didn't hear him, but when he came out to get us, we tried to hide from him. But somehow he found us. Dad made us macaroni and cheese for dinner, my favorite. It was Jeremy's favorite, too. Maybe Jeremy Ross wasn't so bad after all. I was beginning to think that maybe we should just forget about enemy pie. But sure enough, after dinner, Dad brought out the pie. I watched as he cut the pie into 8 thick slices. "Dad," I said, "it sure is nice having a new friend in the neighborhood." I was trying to get his attention and trying to tell him that Jeremy Ross was no longer my enemy. But Dad only smiled and nodded. I think he thought I was just pretending. Dad dished up 3 plates side by side with big pieces of pie and giant scoops of ice cream. He passed one to me and one to Jeremy. "Wow," Jeremy said, looking at the pie. "My dad never makes pies like this." It was at this point that I panicked. I didn't want Jeremy to eat enemy pie. He was my friend. I couldn't let him eat it. "Jeremy, don't eat it. It's bad pie. I think it's poisonous or something," Jeremy's fork stopped before reaching his mouth. He crumpled his eyebrows and looked at me funny. I felt relieved. I had saved his life. I was a hero. "If it's so bad," Jeremy asked, "then why has your dad already eaten half of it?" I turned to look at my dad. Sure enough, he was eating enemy pie. "Good stuff," he mumbled through a mouthful, and that was all he said. I sat there watching them eat enemy pie for a few seconds. Dad was laughing, Jeremy was happily eating, and neither of them was losing any hair. It seemed safe enough, so I took a tiny taste. Enemy pie was delicious. After dessert, Jeremy rode his bike home, but not before inviting me over to play on his trampoline in the morning. He said he'd teach me how to flip. As for enemy pie, I still don't know how to make it. I still wonder if enemies really do hate it, or if their hair falls out, or the breath turns bad. But I don't know if I'll ever get an answer, because I just lost my best enemy.
Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last, he has ransomed me, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am.
Okay, everybody, I want you to do something for me. I want you to close your eyes really tight, And I want you to imagine right now, think about somebody that you were really mad at. So let's close our eyes. And just for a moment, think about someone that you are really mad at right now. Okay, now I want you to hold your hands together. Pretend that you are holding that person's hand, and I want you to say this prayer after me. God, help me to love this person that I am mad at just as you love me. I want you all to remember this week that God is always there for you, and you can always ask God for help when you need to open your heart and love somebody else. And remember that Jesus asks us to love our neighbors. And who is our neighbor? Everyone is our neighbor. Thank you for joining me this week, and I hope to see you next time. Have a great week.